Hello and welcome everyone to this Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, depending where you are. A special live with a special guest today. I hope everyone is doing well. Hope we've all got that Friday feeling. And I'm really excited to speak to today's guest. We'll be speaking about music. We'll be speaking about how fame is affected with mental health. And we'll just be speaking about just all the general things regarding mental health. So just waiting for the guest to come on. If everyone wants to drop whereabouts they're from in the world, that'd be wonderful, just while we're waiting. Excellent. Hey everyone. New York City, big up to New York, one of my favourite places. Right, let's go. Alessia, if you can just request to be on the live. We're on.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Firstly, Alessia, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time out to come on the platform to speak about anxiety and mental health. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. This is good. It's awesome.
No, that's wonderful. Alessia, for everyone who might not know who you are, if they haven't heard your fantastic songs, they've obviously been under a rock all this time. But if you can just give a brief explanation about your music journey, why you feel it's important to raise awareness in mental health, and just any songs that you've done that in previously.
My name's Alessia Cara. I do music. So I'm a musician, a songwriter, a singer. I've been doing it professionally for about 5 years now, but like unprofessionally for years and years before I even started my career. And I think it's important to talk about mental health because I, as a person, have struggled with mine over the years since I was a very young girl. And I've tried my best, given my platform now, to speak on it because I think that there's so much strength in numbers, even if we don't have the answers. I think someone being able to say, hey, like, same here, and share our experiences, I think it's so helpful, because we should open more dialogues about it, and there shouldn't be any stigma around feeling not your best, or your mental health being like struggling in any way. There's nothing wrong with that, so I think it's just important to talk about it as much as we can.
No, I think that's a really good point. And one of the standout moments that I've seen of your performances was the song that you did with Logic, especially the live version. Was it on the VMAs? Was it?
That was at the Grammys, I believe.
Was it the Grammys? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge moment. Yeah, it was so beautiful.
It was so moving to see, and just the raw emotion through your singing, and just the message that you guys were portraying. You just did the mental health community a credit. So it's amazing seeing what a young lady can do with a platform and how you're using it so positively. So I'd like to thank you for that, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Before we get into the questions of the followers, I just want to read out a few things that some of the followers have said, because they submitted maybe between 5,000 and 10,000 questions. So obviously, I know it's crazy. So I just want to read a couple of the things, because I think it's important for you to know the positivity that you're spreading through everything that you're doing. So the first one is, Alessia is such a good role model for young people. I really appreciate what she stands for. The next one is, Alessia, you inspired me to become a singer and songwriter. Your music speaks right to my heart. The next one, Alessia, your music and message you share saved my life. It literally pulled me out from a dark place. I just want to say your song "Scars to Your Beautiful" has helped me through so many hard times. Thank you so much. And finally, Alessia, you always check in on your fans' mental health. Just know that we have your back too.
So sweet.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so sweet. They're
I
the
just
best.
thought those messages were beautiful. So I have picked out some questions from the followers. If you're okay answering them,
Yeah.
we'll just get into it. So the first question is, what are the best and worst things about the music industry, and what's the best thing you've done for your mental health personally?
Wow. All right. So I guess to answer the music industry part first, the great thing about it is selfishly, I get to, do what I'm passionate about for a living. I think it's wonderful. I think it's amazing that we get to say whatever we want and tell our stories and reach out to people and help people. That's like, I think the most beautiful part about it, about what I do anyway. And then I think the worst part about it is that there's strangely nothing natural about it, if that makes sense. I think, as far as we've come as human beings and technology and all of that, we are innately like cavemen at the end of the day. We're all human beings, and there's, very biological things that are attached to every emotion that we feel, like even anxiety. Like back in the day, fight or flight and panic attacks were all because there was like a lion in front of us that was going to attack us or whatever, and so we only really understand very few things like survival, companionship, feeling understood, things like that. And so when you're thrown into the industry, it's a place that makes you feel so disposable, but at the same time so on top of the world, consistently and constantly, every single day. And not just like by your pack of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. It's like millions of people at the same time. And so all that adrenaline and all of that, back and forth so intensely is not human in a way. It's not natural. And I think it's very hard for our brains to understand it. And so I think that's why a lot of artists struggle with their mental health, because it's just not something that is natural, and there's no gene for fame, if that makes sense. So I think that's a very difficult part about it, is because you're constantly told you're amazing and then you're the worst all at the same time. So it definitely takes a toll on your mental health for sure. But to answer the second half of that question, the best thing that I've done, it's funny because I've struggled with my mental health for many, many years. And I only recently, like in these last few months, have done something good for it. And that is asking for help.
What age would you say it started from, or when you noticed it?
I mean, it goes as far back as like being a little kid, like 5 or 6, and being like petrified that like somebody was gonna come into my house and like try to kill my family. And like I had this like I would not sleep because I was like, I have to be up because something bad's gonna happen, and I think at the time I sort of like, or my parents sort of passed it off as like, a kid being scared of like monsters under the bed type thing. But it was always there. There was always a sense of worry there. And I think I really started noticing it in high school, in my teen years, just feeling depressed and anxious and not understanding what those things meant. And again, always sort of passing it off as like teenage hormones or whatever. And I think now I realize that it's not so much circumstantial as much as it is something in my, brain that I need to talk about and fix and ask for help on, and I think the strongest thing that we can do, oftentimes we think like the strong thing to do is like just push through it on our own and figure it out, which is great. But I think an even stronger thing to do when you need it is asking for help and opening dialogues and really trying to help yourself instead of just trying to be the strong man all the time. So that's what I've recently done in these last few months, is really talking to my family and friends who have been so supportive of me, and going to therapy. If you have the means to, I think therapy is amazing, or even just free therapy with your family and friends truly is so helpful. And also just like saying no to things and canceling things if I have to, to take care of myself. I've never done that before. I think as an artist, you kind of always have to act like every day is your best day ever. You have to always please people. You're conditioned to sort of be that way. And I think recently I've just been way more candid with the people I work with, and I've been able to say, hey, I don't know if I could do this today, or I need a day to myself, or, telling people that I'm struggling even, so that's been super helpful.
Do you think with everything that's going on around the world, do you think having that time through the lockdowns and things give you time to self-reflect maybe?
Definitely. Yeah. I think while it's a terrible thing that's going on in the world, I think it's been a hidden blessing for a lot of people that are, trying to figure themselves out, because it's forced us to, it's forced us to sit with ourselves, and a lot of not so pretty stuff comes up, and I think ultimately it's for the better, because you really learn what areas you need to work on and what you're going through. And for me personally, just all this stuff came up that I wasn't even aware I was dealing with. And it can be very challenging, but it's really allowed me the time to dedicate to myself, where I'm not touring, I'm not traveling, I'm in one place every day. And it's been very helpful for that, to give myself some routine and some time to really, work on myself.
No, that's brilliant. And like you said, one of the strongest things to do is to reach out and ask for help. So I think that's beautiful how you put that. The next question is, if you could give any advice to someone who struggles with anxiety specifically, what would it be, and what helps you in times of anxiety?
If there's anything I could say, again, I think going back to the strength and comfort in numbers, I would say, because we're in our own heads and we're living our own lives, it's so easy for us to fall into the mindset of, we're the only person struggling with this particular feeling. Or I know that when I go through it, or I have times of like, what I now know is derealization and experiencing that, or, anxiety or panic attacks, I always feel like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. This is not normal. Something is wrong. I'm dying, and it's very easy to feel that way. And so I would tell anyone who's struggling that there are 1 in 4 people actually that struggle with this, and you're not alone, especially in this time that we're going through. Give yourself some slack. This is, something that none of us have ever gone through in our lifetime, and it's abnormal and it's scary, and that can definitely amplify those feelings of anxiety. And you're not alone. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. We just have to figure it out. And we're human beings. It's normal to feel these things, and they're not always pleasant. They're actually very unpleasant and scary, but there are people there with you that are going through it. And I know many people who have gone through it and are looking at it on the other side and have made it out. So there is hope. And I think, there's just comfort in knowing that, for me anyway. So I hope it helps you too.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And would you say, have you tried like breathing techniques when you're anxious, or meditation or mindfulness? Have you ever looked into exercise, for example? Do you find that helps?
Yeah, I think I've done meditation. I've tried that. Specifically, mindfulness meditation has been pretty helpful. It's strange because I'm still kind of in the thick of it. So I'm still, trial and erroring, like what works and what doesn't. But I think for me, if it's at nighttime, I typically struggle a lot at night. And so what I do is I turn on the lights. I think being in the dark, you're sort of forced to just think about things. So what I do is turn on the lights and look at everything around me, and look at objects and describe them to myself in my head. That really helps ground me. Another technique I do is like looking at something square, like a TV screen or a picture frame, and sort of doing like a breathing thing. So you breathe in, hold it, breathe out, hold it. And you just keep doing that really slowly. Put your hands on your abdomen and sort of feel your breath through your stomach. That's very grounding and very helpful for me, but I think everybody's different, so you can find out.
That's wonderful. And that's really, really true in what you said, especially when you're going through anxiety or an anxiety disorder. It's all about getting as much information and as many tools as you can, and just trial and error, like you said, figuring out what works best. Because some things might work brilliant for one person, but then someone else tries it and it might not be good for them. So I definitely think everything that you're speaking about is the right path. So that's fantastic. Just regarding like performance anxiety, have you ever had anxiety whilst actually performing your own songs?
Definitely, yeah. I have had a lot of like blunders on stage. I've done like a bunch of TV shows. I think the first TV show I did was Jimmy Fallon, and I remember I forgot the entire melody to my song because I was so scared and like just so anxious that I was like singing like a totally different melody than my actual song, and I could not remember how my song went, like for the life of me. It was so strange. And there's another time, it was super early in the morning, really anxious. I didn't get any sleep. I have like trouble with sleeping all the time, and it was like live on TV, and I forgot all the words. And I just stood there and froze, and I could not finish the song. Like I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And it's challenging, it's scary. And then you get even deeper into the hole of insecurity, and you're like, oh my gosh, this happened, and blah, 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 and you know how your anxious brain will tell you things that are not true. But I think the thing that's been helpful to me is understanding that whatever your brain says doesn't mean you have to engage with certain thoughts, you know, and your beliefs, or what you think are your beliefs, are not reality, or the world as you perceive it is not necessarily the reality. So in those moments, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm the worst in the world right now, but I feel like everyone else doesn't. And, you know, everyone else understands. So that's not like whatever's going on in here is not actually what's really happening. So that's kind of helped me on stage, and understanding at my shows, people are there to see me because they love me and they love my music. And it's not the end of the world, you know, if I mess up. So that's been helpful.
No, that's fantastic to hear as well. And it's brilliant to hear a musician, like you said, who actually gets anxious whilst performing, because you hear a lot of actors, actresses, and musicians say that, oh, well, when I hold the microphone, all my anxiety goes away. But I think it's important to show that for some people who are performing, that it can be a battle with the anxiety even while they're performing. So thank you for shedding a light on that. The next question is, do you have any pets, and do you think they are good for your mental health?
Yes, I just recently actually got a dog, and it's I'm a first time dog owner, never had one before. And I really, really can say that they are so good for your mental health. Dogs actually, I think, are like the #1 species that can pick up on human energy and body language. And so she's just only 5 months old, but she already can tell if I'm anxious, or if I'm having a bad day, or if I'm crying. And she just like comes and like sits by my feet, or sits on my feet, just to sort of ground me. It's almost as if she's like grounding me. It's the strangest thing, but even just holding her when I'm not feeling the greatest, I think just releases some sort of endorphins, because it really does help. They're like great companions to have. I do recommend getting pets if you have anxiety or depression or anything like that. They really do, you know, they're there for you. And it's just nice to have company. You know, if you live alone, it's just nice to have somebody there that you could talk to that doesn't understand what you're saying, but you can say things out loud too.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's beautiful as well. And how is it owning a puppy? A lot of people say it's almost like a newborn child. Is it difficult, or is your dog well behaved?
She is actually surprisingly very well behaved for a puppy. She's like fully trained, but at the same time, she is still a puppy, and she's teething right now like a baby. So she is chewing on everything that she sees, which can be challenging. So yes and no. I think they are a lot like babies, actually. They genuinely are, except the difference with babies and dogs is that babies grow up and then they no longer need you necessarily, but dogs will always need you. So it's like a baby that stays a baby. But I think as long as you train them well and you discipline from the beginning, they, you know, figure out what they can and can't do. And all you need to do is feed them and love them, take them out for walks, which is not that hard. It gets easier.
Well, that's wonderful. The next question is, how do you handle the ups and downs of self-esteem being in the spotlight?
That's hard. It's really hard. Again, like I was saying, you know, this industry definitely makes you feel very disposable. And if you don't have, you know, if you're not on the top of the charts all the time, you're suddenly irrelevant. But then if you are, you're the best again. And it's, you know, it's a lot of like feeding your ego, but then pushing it down. And, you know, it's very challenging for somebody who, you know, does struggle with their mental health, which is mostly every artist that I know, to read those things and see those things, because you already sort of struggle with who you are in your head, and are already being told like false narratives in your head from your anxiety. And then when you read things online, you don't know what to believe or what is true and what isn't. And it can be hard. I think the thing for me is just not looking at it as much as possible. And it's not so much to like ignore it, but just to focus on what I'm doing. I think the less opinions I hear around me, the more I can focus on what mine really is and what the truth of what I'm, you know, trying to say and trying to do is. And it can get sort of clouded. Even by the good stuff, it can get clouded. You really need to focus and, you know, look inward and figure out who it is you are as a person and as an artist instead of what everyone else decides you are. And there's a lot of deciding who you are for you when you're online all the time and reading certain things. So I try not to pay attention to it or engage too much and focus on the positives, and just, you know, I trust the opinions of my family and friends around me. And so I look to them for guidance and not so much the people who don't know me. But my fans definitely do know me, and they're always quick to be honest with me regardless. But it's the people who are just mean that I'm talking about that I try not to engage with, because it's not helpful.
That's wonderful. And you just touched on it as well. So do you have a real positive influence team around you? Because that's really important, just for anyone in general life, to have these positive influences around them. Because what people say to us, like you say, it does matter. And also how we speak to ourselves, like you said about the inner critic. It's always our worst downfall. But like you said, you touched on it earlier, that we don't have to believe these irrational thoughts that we get. One thing that I always say is thoughts are not facts. 99% of what you hear in here isn't true. And just because you're getting these thoughts and then having physical symptoms of anxiety, that doesn't mean that the thoughts are any more true. A lot of people fall into like the trap of like almost validating that what I must be thinking must be true because I'm feeling this way. But yeah, I think that's really important what you said about just staying grounded, just looking at your own path, your own journey, and just having that positive influence around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you said it best, like thoughts are not facts. And sometimes when you're so in your head and you believe something so strongly, like, oh, I'm the worst person in the world, you automatically just take it as fact. That's not true. And then, you know, when your body, like you said, has physical reactions, you start to believe it even more. But I think what's really happening is your brain suddenly has this worry. It warns the rest of your body. So your body's like, oh, wait, we should worry. And then your brain's like, the body's reacting, I should worry. So it's like a vicious cycle of like reacting to the other thing, and then the other part believing that it's truth, if that makes any sense. So it's like sort of a cycle of reaction. And so we believe as our own consciousness, okay, something is wrong. But like I said before, it's just like going back to caveman days. Fight or flight is actually a way of protecting you. So oftentimes, I know that I used to think when I would get anxiety that like it was my brain against me or my body against me. But in fact, it's actually a very strange way of our body trying to help us and thinking that there's danger when there isn't. And so applying that to thought, your thought can think things when they're not actually there. That's why we have perception and we have fact. So I think really understanding what is perception and what is fact has been really helpful for me. And sometimes we need that reassurance from people around us. If I have to ask my friends 1,000 times, do I suck? Am I the worst? You know, just getting that reassurance is helpful. And another thing I would say to anybody struggling, which is super important, is that as much as you feel like you're a burden or like it's troublesome to talk to people, you're not a burden at all. And you're not, you know, the people that love you want to support you and want to help you, and they understand. And so, you know, like don't hold it in just because you feel like you're going to stress people out, or, you know, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. And just think about what I try to do is I think about if a friend were coming to me with their anxiety, would I think that they were a burden? No, I would want to help them because I love them. So don't ever be scared to talk about it or think that, just don't think that you're like, I don't know, causing more stress for people because they want to help you.
No, I think that's a lovely way to put it as well. A lot of psychotherapists, a lot of psychologists, they give that advice out, that speak to yourself how you would speak to your best friend. And I think that's really important. The way we speak to ourselves definitely does matter.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
The last question from the platform is, how do you feel we can use music and art to help end the stigma around mental health? And how do you think the music industry is doing with that matter at the moment? And how do you think the stigma around mental health is in your own country in Canada?
I think, you know, as far as we've come, I think we still have a long way to go. And I think there are a lot of facts that people don't know or statistics that people aren't aware of. And so I think the best thing to do outside of music, just as artists or people with platforms, is to do things like this and talk about it candidly without, being afraid to, or without worry of being judged. I always say it's like, if you have a problem with your tooth, you go to the dentist. If you have some sort of bodily problems, you go to the doctor. It's the same thing. If you have a problem in your brain and if your mental health is struggling, there's nothing wrong with talking about it or fixing it. No one's ashamed to say you're going to the dentist, right? So I think artists that deal with it, and I know a lot of them do, it's important for us to talk about it any way that we can to help people out. And not only, like this, but through music. I think, in this last album that I've been writing that's not out yet, I've been really candidly talking about my mental health in a way that I haven't before. I'm super open about it, which is something kind of new for me because I've typically shied away from it, from the specifics, I guess. But this album definitely talks about it. And I think, as scary as it is to be so vulnerable and open to millions or thousands of people, it's important because someone struggling is always looking for someone else that's going through the same thing. They're looking for commonalities in our pain and in our struggling. So I think the more open we are about it, the quicker we'll end that stigma and the quicker people will feel, less alone.
No, I think that's a wonderful explanation and way to put it. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the lyrics within the new songs on the album. Regarding the new album, do we have a date when that's out, or?
No, it's not even finished yet. I'm almost there. I think we're at home stretch, but I've just still been writing. I think, being home has just caused, weirdly, like at first no inspiration, but then now I've been hit with this new wave of inspiration. So every time I think I'm done, I just keep writing. So we'll see. I have no title, no date, nothing. I'm just sort of flowing, but lots of songs being written for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. And just regarding any other projects, Alessia, are you working on anything else? Is there anything else coming up? Anything before Christmas, or is it full steam ahead in the new year?
I think pretty much in the new year. I've done a couple things. I've recorded some stuff for fun in the studio that maybe I'll release maybe around the holidays or something. Nothing crazy, but definitely just focusing on this next record and hopefully going to get it out there to the world when things are back to normal, and as a way for people to hopefully enjoy it and pick ourselves back up in the new year. But we'll see.
No, that's wonderful. So I'd just like to end by just again thanking you for the time that you spent to speak to our followers. And obviously, I just really hope these positive messages from your fans, I really do hope that it warms your heart, because the good that you're doing is incredible, and you should be really proud of yourself. You're using your platform and you're changing lives that you wouldn't know of. So it's a real good achievement, that, Alessia.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet. It's never lost on me how sweet my fans are and how lucky I am to be doing this. And it's always so beautiful to hear those messages, because I don't always see that stuff. So thank you for sharing. And also thank you, genuinely, not even just saying this, for having this platform and this page, because I follow it and use it all the time, and I learn things about myself that I didn't even know. And it's been a great tool for my family and I to read, and for the people around me to understand what's going on more. So thank you for doing that, because you really are allowing people to feel less alone. So it's awesome.
No, I appreciate that, Alessia. And like you said, it's all about the community feel. Everyone's going on their own journey to mental health recovery. It doesn't matter where you are, and you can share your experiences, and that's what we try and do through the community. So it's really good hearing that you find it positive and are using it to a positive effect.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Alessia. If everyone wants to go and support your songs, which platform is best for them to go and get it on? Where can they see more of Alessia? Are you on social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Alessia's Music. Twitter is Alessia Cara. You can find all my music on all the platforms, Alessia Cara, and hopefully you enjoy it.
Wonderful. Like it. Thank you very much again, Alessia. And I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
No
Hopefully I didn't
problem.
ramble too much.
No problem. Take care, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.